Greetings, dear viewers. I'm Quill Quickcard, and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. Last time, Hisao asked the all-important question: why do people make art? And now that seems to be today's topic. The boy with sunglasses pipes up almost immediately. His voice is soft and quiet, and I have a hard time making out what he says. What defines an artist? After him, another question comes up. If I fill a cardboard box with water and call it art, is it art? Everyone laughs at that, even the teacher. Great! Wonderful! All of these! Let me start by saying that this is not a clear-cut issue by any means, and as such, I'm not going to give any answers to you. I'm only going to speak from my own perspective. Scholars have argued about these sorts of questions since time immemorial, and there has never really been a broadly applicable consensus reached. There are, however, some qualities that most tend to generally agree upon. Hopefully you all should find these acceptable as well. In short, art defines itself. It simply cannot be contained to a definition from the outside, since the boundaries of art expand and contract from forces within. Every day, someone somewhere comes up with something completely outrageous that challenges any and all preconceptions. The core reason for this is that rather than the rational side of the mind, art appeals to the intuition, the instinct, the primal. You would find it very hard to explain why exactly it is that you enjoy some particular style or piece, no? He doesn't wait for a response before continuing. This is exactly why. So, art is this sort of wild, uncontrollable thing that lurks somewhere deep in our subconscious. Now, why does it exist? Nomiya apparently expects someone to pipe up with a guess, but as nobody dares to interrupt his inspired speech, he continues. It was a trick question. You see, art also validates itself. Generally speaking, you might say that art exists for no other purpose than itself. It's something that exists merely to leave a mark in history. It's the defiance of a mortal against the face of darkness, as was once said. Art is truly the proof of our existence. You all should know that human culture and civilization are tightly tied to the existence of art. Then, what about artists? What drives a man to dedicate his life to a thing so fickle and mysterious that it even defies definition? There are as many answers for this as there are artists. But if I had to put it into words, an artist doesn't make art because he can, but because he must. Nomiya takes a pause, and his gaze sweeps over his audience, eyes flaring with passion. It is obvious that art touches the very soul of each and every human being in one way or another. So if you were given a chance to connect with your fellow man in such a fundamental way, how could you not? There is a poem I'm very much fond of, and I shall recite the most well-known part of it to you now. I feel that, for me personally, of all possible things, it captures best the essence of what it means to be an artist. Nomiya leans against the desk as he clears his throat in preparation. Looking at some distant place, he utters the words in the heavy afternoon air with his soft basso voice. To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. There's a solemn and unbelievably awkward silence after he finishes reciting the short fragment. Nobody dares speak a word. Nomiya clears his throat again. To be an artist is to see the world in a grain of sand. You see, dear children, without art, there would not be much to live for in this world. It is a most profound thing. He is clearly touched by this notion. I almost expect to see a lone tear rolling down his rough cheek, but it never comes. I turned to Reen and whispered to her, "So how is this a discussion circle?" She shrugs nonchalantly back at me. The previous ones were the same. To his credit, Nomiya does try to get some debate going, but the club seems to be reluctant to comply. I feel a bit guilty about opening my mouth. Maybe we would have been spared from this. As the meeting comes to a close, I realize we haven't once touched any paint or pens today, and I feel somewhat disappointed. Nomiya suddenly appears next to us. He seems to be still fired up from the speech he delivered. His cologne smells musky and... I do not know that word. Saccharine? Double C. I'm going to guess an Italian pronunciation, which would make a double C a ch sound. So his cologne smells musky and saccharine at the same time, giving me an instant headache, even though I'm not sensitive to perfumes. He is looking at Reen like a hungry wolf. I'm too curious. I need to look up that word. Define saccharine. I was not even close. It is saccharin. Saccharin. Excessively sweet or sentimental. Fascinating. Tezuka, do you remember Mrs. Sayonji, who visited us at the festival? I think so. I'm going to tell you something amazing. The thing is, she's a very well-known gallerist around here. It turns out I might be able to get her to consider having some of your work put on display. He ends his sentence with a dramatic gesture. It seems he's expecting Reen to show some sort of joyous, shocked reaction at such grand news, but she just stares at him blankly. Magnificent, is it? This could be a real chance for us to get ahead, girl. But... No, I know what you're about to say. Yes, it wouldn't be a simple affair, but I think this is an absolutely fantastic opportunity. Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we even made it big. This could be the first step, and then when the word is out, we strike while the iron is hot. Right, Nakai? Yeah, it does sound pretty great, if you're into that kind of thing. See? We should definitely not let this one pass, am I right? I don't, really. Reen seems to be troubled for some reason. I can't figure out why. What Nomiya is saying does indeed sound like a possibly great thing. She looks pretty down, though, and confused. I've never seen her like this. So, what do you think? Reen looks up to her teacher's glowing face, then back down at her desk. I'll think about it. Nomiya is at least taken slightly aback by Reen's lack of superlative delight. Then he smiles widely at her and gently pats her head. Good girl. The club meeting is finally over, and as I lazily collect my things and help clean up, I start feeling exhausted for some reason. There isn't much to do, however, so it's over quickly. I catch up to Reen, who left the club room just a moment earlier, so we're walking down the stairs to the ground floor while I try to go over Namia's passionate speech about art, and Reen seems to be lost in thought. Not an unusual state for her, I've learned, but something about her expression makes me feel uneasy. Penny for your thoughts? Always do that. That'd be too cheap. You're just overpricing your thoughts. I wouldn't be able to sell them anyway. I'm not sure of what I'm thinking yet. That'd be fraud, too. Like stealing candy from a baby. That's theft, not fraud. I have to think about what I think. Is this about what the teacher said? Getting your work put on display and all that? She doesn't answer, but stops in her tracks as we reach the lobby. We're the only people around, so it's very quiet. Footsteps echo from a few floors up as someone hurries along the hallway. I think I'm going to go somewhere elsewhere. I think she really is troubled. Want company? Can't promise much help with the thinking, but it's not like I have much else to do, and I'm supposed to do some light exercise. If you like. Reen leads me outside to the wall behind the dormitories. There's a small gate there, made from the same wrought iron as the main gate. It leads to the shadowy woodland park behind the school. The gate is rusty, as if it hasn't seen much use. However, it sits open, so we pass through. It's not forbidden for students to leave the grounds, but somehow I feel a little uneasy. A path leads deeper into the forest. Tall Zelkova and maple trees rustle in the wind. Zelkova? Their canopies creating patches of chill air hanging in the places where the shadows fall. The forest smells strongly of earth. I almost feel cold, even though the midsummer day is as hot as ever. Damn you, right-click. Reen trudges ahead like a sleepwalker, sure-footed but with no apparent destination in mind. Her thoughts seem to be somewhere else. I follow a few steps behind, taking more care to watch where my feet land. The path follows the land uphill at a low angle, sometimes making little detours downhill before climbing back upward. The muted brown and gray trunks line the path on both sides, peppered with ferns and other undergrowth. After a little while, I start getting worried. The path is still wide and clear, so there's no chance of getting lost, but it doesn't look like we have any particular destination. There's nothing wrong with a bit of aimless wandering around, but I don't want to go so far that I get too tired to walk back. I'm starting to get a little winded. My legs feel heavy. I want to stop and get a chance to catch my breath and rest my legs, but Reen keeps on going. Where are we going? Or are we going anywhere at all? Wordy tree. I see. So what exactly is the worry tree? It's just a tree like this. She stops in front of a particularly large maple that might or may not be the worry tree. Its lush green leaves sway lightly in the breeze, blowing through the small clearing we entered. I guessed as much. There are people who believe that you must come here to wallow in misery if you are miserable. Only by people, I mean me. And the tree isn't really called anything. So, if you're miserable, you talk to a tree about it? No. What? You can't talk to trees. What do you think I am? Crazy? Slightly. No, I didn't mean it like that. Or maybe you talk to trees. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that you are crazy. Even though you probably are, if you talk to trees. I wouldn't recommend it in either case. People will think you are a weird person. No, just forget it. She looks mildly confused, for which I don't blame her at all. She tilts her head a little to the side, expression melting back to her usual one. All right. I'm good at forgetting things. So, why are we here? Are you miserable then? I can't read the expression she makes. I hate how bad I am at interpreting Rain's mood. She doesn't answer right away, as if she herself isn't quite certain of her own mood. The blank stare changes into a more difficult expression as she shuffles her weight around. Finally, coming to a conclusion, Rain shrugs her shoulders. I've grown to seriously dislike that gesture. It doesn't mean anything. Maybe. I just feel kind of like I'm sinking underwater. I don't know what I should do. I don't know where I should go. That's all. Maybe it's not a big deal, but I thought walking might help. Kind of like if I go somewhere, I would know where I should go. I don't really know if it did. It really would have made sense if walking had decided or helped to decide where to go. So, you don't want to try to get an exhibition? Or rather, you don't know if you do? Can't decide? Rain doesn't say anything for a while, arranging her thoughts in silence. The silence is broken by birdsong from somewhere in the treetops, followed by rustling leaves as the bird takes flight. Maybe. I'm not sure I can have a thing like that. So far, I've only painted for myself. I don't think I could have my things on display the way I am now. This me couldn't do it. Her reason sounds like a weak excuse. I make my trademark frown, but she doesn't notice it. I don't get it. The teacher certainly thinks you could. I don't think he'd suggest it otherwise. Sounds like he's calling in favors from his friends, too. Damn, I really thought I was going to get through this one without yawning. Every time, game. Every time. I know. He's really done a lot for me. But this might be too much. Becoming someone who can do it might be pretty hard. Maybe I couldn't do it at all. He can't do it for me, and if I let him try, I'd just sink deeper and deeper. Reen stands in front of the large maple and turns away from me. I want to close the few feet of distance between us, and I don't know. My irritation is suddenly gone, and I start feeling sympathetic to her. I know exactly how you feel. Well, maybe I don't, but still. I think I haven't felt like I was actually in control of my own life this whole year. I'm just helplessly going along with the flow. Like coming out of the school. I didn't really choose it myself. Hey. Two yawns. 2 yawns in 2 minutes when I'd gone 20 minutes without. Why do you do this to me, game? And I certainly didn't choose this time of my life to learn that I have this condition. I still can't casually say the word aloud. It's like, yeah, it's exactly like being underwater. Like I can't even breathe. Reen turns to face me again, a sad expression on her face. Is that why you look so sad all the time? I don't want to look sad like you. Do I look to you like you look to me? I don't look sad all the time. I just don't know what I should be feeling. What kind of face I should be making. Me neither. Do I look sad now? Not really. You look like you always do, I think. Really? 3 yawns? Why? Stop it! This is your fault, game. But I'm sinking. I should try to float up like a rubber duck. Quack, quack. All yellow and creepy. I have to think for a few seconds about which direction I should pursue in this conversation. Then I realize it doesn't matter. You think rubber ducks are creepy? Thank you. I am glad you fixated on the important detail. You don't? I think they look very creepy. Everything that has eyes but isn't alive is very disturbing. Like rubber ducks and reflections in mirrors. She plops down on the forest bed, leaning on the maple she named the worry tree. After wondering what to do for a minute, I sit down too, 3 feet apart from her. The forest envelops us in its embrace, and its stillness falls upon the two of us. We sit there without speaking for a long while. I can literally feel the time passing. Patches of sunlight litter the small clearing in a pattern that echoes the maple canopies. One of them falls directly on me, warming me all the way to the bone. I wonder what I could do for myself. Maybe for Reen. For now, I just keep watching her from this distance. Sometimes she cranes her neck all the way back, so much that it looks almost painful, and stares up at the small patch of sky visible past the canopy of the worry tree. Sometimes she just stares blankly ahead, as if seeing something just beyond her reach. and she keeps whispering to herself, but so quietly that I can't hear her, even though I'm sitting right next to her. I only see her lips moving, like she was in the middle of a distant dream. I realize that right now, I no longer feel any of the intense loneliness I feel at night, just before falling asleep. I might be more Reen than I thought. More like Reen than I thought. I can either give up and stay submerged under the weight of all the crap in my life, or try to change myself for the better. Her decision is different, yet the same. And unlike her, I know for sure that I can't stay like this forever. I have to change. Okay. I'm going to say I want to be more like Reen. Thank you, flowchart that I have just now consulted. Reen could probably do it, even though she seems to doubt herself. I have no doubts about her strength. She could do it, even if she can't. It makes me feel a little bit better, too, and I lean back against the tree, breathing out deeply, as if for the first time in a long time. We stay that way in the small clearing until the angle of the sun changes and the chilly shadows deepen. No longer warm where we sit, we leave the forest, returning along the same path we took coming in. It doesn't look like Reen has come to a decision. I wonder if it was a bad idea for me to come along. It's all right. I don't mind. I'm sure the trees and dirt and rocks won't mind either. Did you mind? No, not at all. I think it helped me too. While we walk back towards the dormitories, the sky is changing to a deep ultramarine. The first summer stars twinkle softly from between spots in the canopy, barely visible, like tiny fireflies. I become very self-conscious about Reen's presence. I haven't thought much about girls since things fell apart with you and Akko. This is kind of the same situation as then, but to be honest, I don't think it really counts for much. Not with Reen. And yet, it feels good walking next to her, even if it isn't anything more than this. At first, I think Reen agitated me quite a bit with her unpredictable behavior, but recently, I feel I haven't had to be on my toes so much. I've managed to let myself go a little. It makes me feel satisfied, even though ultimately I think it's more thanks to Reen than myself. She seems to be disinterested in a huge number of things, but something in her makes me try harder than I normally would. It's not that I want to impress her. I think that truly impressing Reen would take near superhuman effort just because of how she is. Instead, it's because there is this relentless feeling inside of me that I shouldn't let Reen down. It's really weird. I wonder why I started thinking like that. I don't even know what sort of expectations she has about pretty much anything. So how could I let her down? Reen has this unassuming air around her, and she doesn't really talk about stuff very often. Even today's confession of her self-doubt caught me a little bit off guard. I feel like I want to talk more with her. The realization suddenly dawns on me that Reen is basically the only person I talk to nowadays, apart from whatever I have to endure from Shizune, Misha, or Kenji. I feel slightly depressed. In front of the dormitories, as if summoned by my dark thoughts, we run into Kenji himself. Feels very odd seeing him outside, breathing fresh outdoor air. At least it's already dusk. I partially expect Kenji would disintegrate upon direct exposure to the sun. Kenji himself seems very insecure as well, standing around looking like he's waiting for something, but doesn't know himself what it might be. Hey, Kenji, what are you doing? Hello. Who are you? It's me, Sao. Not sure if you know Tezuka from class 3-4. From his face, I can see that not only he doesn't know Reen, he also can't see her from this short distance. Oh, sup, dudes? Kenji sticks his hand enthusiastically forward, almost straight into Reen's stomach. Oh, there are so many layers of weird with that exchange that just happened. Reen looks at his outstretched hand in confusion until Kenji clears his throat and retracts his hand. There's something almost cool that he manages to do with social awkwardness. It's not like I'm the most suave man on the planet, but I don't think I'll ever be able to even approach Kenji's level. I think I respect Kenji a little bit more. I do not. I specifically do not. So, you're waiting for someone? He leans closer and lowers his voice to an agitated whisper. I see his facial muscles twitching. Come on, man! You know I can't talk about stuff here in public. They might be listening. I'm going to have to go pick up some stuff from somewhere. I don't want those snooping student council hags to get on my case. Also, I don't trust your friend. Nothing personal. Are you sure he's trustworthy? I briefly consider telling Kenji about Reen's gender, but as it might end badly for one or both of them, I decide against it. Yeah, I'm sure. He turns from me to Reen, and I immediately get the feeling that I have to prevent them from talking to each other with whatever means necessary. However, there's little I can do now apart from physical violence. In that case, would you be interested in knowing about the worst threat to mankind since they invented vegetarianism? He sounds like a vacuum cleaner salesman. I thought it was Sunday. I see you're not in the know. Yeah, man, I'm talking about man-eating cows here. Very few people know what I know, so I'm not surprised. We can't talk here, but if you'd like a pamphlet, come to my room after curfew on Mondays or Wednesdays. He suddenly reaches into his pocket and draws out a ballpoint pen and what looks like a convenience store receipt. Kenji furiously scribbles on the scrap of paper and then thrusts it towards Reen. Here's the password. Memorize it and then eradicate any trace of this document. Eat it, burn it, dissolve it in acid, whatever. I take the receipt from Kenji as Reen is unable to do so and glance at it. It's indeed a receipt, apparently for 2 rice balls and 5 boxes of matches. I hope he's not planning to burn anything down. On the other side is written just one word. Honey Muffin. I show it to Reen too, but she shows no reaction. Thank you. Yo, Sao! Still in that club? The Club of Dark Arts? Fine art. Anyway, yeah, I actually just had a meeting today. Still got your wits about you? No shady mind tricks going on? Nothing personal, man, but I have to be on top of things. Can't get caught with my pants down. Speaking of which, you should really take showers a bit later. Gotta respect that personal space. Nothing personal. Kenji looks around as if he heard something and then straightens his jacket. Okay, I gotta scoot now before it gets too late. Later, dudes. Good luck. Kenji takes off rapidly towards the main gate. Rin looks after him, frowning. We watch after Kenji's diminishing figure in silence. What's wrong with him? Technically speaking, I think he's legally blind. Oh, I see. Another day passes, and so our episode comes to an end. And I will see you all on the next one.